The following podcast is for mature listeners. Although looked at in a light-hearted manner, some content may be graphic and gruesome. Also, due to the host's complete lack of maturity, those easily offended will probably be offended. Hold on to your butts.
Okay, we've been recording, right?
Yeah, I've been on this for like 2 minutes now.
I know, man. We're just wasting away here.
Burning up all this precious airtime.
Jake, on a fateful night in 1795, a boy named Daniel McGinnis noticed something strange.
He got an erection. Why is my penis so hard?
It was the first time ever he was thinking of the little girl next door.
Oh man, this is gonna get sexy.
No. The thing that he noticed that was strange was, well, we're gonna get to it. How about that? I'm gonna leave you hanging. So he noticed something strange
to start the show.
He noticed something strange, and it was something that over the next few hundred years would become one of the most perplexing mysteries in the world. All right? So the story begins one night, little Danny McGinn,
Danny
McG, he notices from his parents' house on the shoreline of Nova Scotia some weird lights.
Not the northern lights.
No, these weren't northern lights. These were too low. These lights were coming from a little island that was like a short boat ride off the coast of the mainland. He saw them like flickering around on the island. So the next day, he decides he's going to go explore the island and figure out what the fuck those lights were.
Okay.
As he does this, he wanders around the island. By the way, this island is largely uninhabited at the time. He stumbles across something unusual, right?
Is this a precursor to the first ever Godzilla-Mothra fight?
Was that in Canada?
Oh, this is in Canada.
Never
mind.
Nova Scotia.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like Godzilla's he primarily sticks
located
to
in
Japan.
Japan.
Asians. Yeah, Asian.
Yeah. Whoa.
It's an Asian
I just
thing.
said Japan. I'm not, what is this, topography, geography? Geography. I'm not so good with the geography.
Well, I think it's racist to assume that all people in Japan are from Japan, Jake. Just say Asian. It's a big, broad spectrum.
Well, I was just saying the country Japan. That's where he sticks Tokyo predominantly.
All right, let's just be politically correct and say in the Orient. But that doesn't even matter because we're not even fucking talking about that. Godzilla has nothing to do with this. So as he wanders around the island, he notices there's an area where he believes was kind of where he saw the lights the night before.
Okay.
And there was a clearing in the trees, right? And in the clearing, there was this large saucer-shaped depression in the ground, about 13 feet wide. Directly above this depression was an old tackle block. Do you know what a tackle block is?
It's like
the thing, if you look at like old pirate ships, it's like the wooden block that the pulleys run through.
Oh, okay.
For like the sails and stuff.
Like a dumbwaiter pulley system almost.
Yeah, kind of. So there's above this depression in the ground, there's one of those hanging from a tree. So
it looks like somebody's there potentially doing some work.
It looks like somebody's there burying some treasure. That's what it looks like to Mr. Daniel McGinnis. So he swears he's onto something big, right? And he returns to the mainland. He gets two of his good friends, John Smith and Anthony Vaughn. And over the next 3 days, these kids go to the island. They break ground, right? They become the first in a long line of men to break ground on this island. And they start looking for treasure, dude. And this treasure hunt is going to last at least the next 200 years because it's still going on today. This island is now known as Oak Island. And this is the place where the money pit is.
Whoa!
The money pit. So the mysterious depression in the ground has become known as the money pit.
Not to be confused with the Tom Hanks movie.
1980s Tom Hanks movie. No, this is different. This is a different money pit. So let's talk about Go ahead.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
So my man Danny McGee
yes.
and his two goons roll up to this. I'm assuming it's a hole. It's essentially just a hole in the ground, correct?
It's not even a hole. I mean, when he finds it, it's just like, have you ever dug a hole and then put the dirt back in? You know how there's like never enough dirt to fill the hole back up?
It looks like there was a hole, but there's not actually a hole. It looks like somebody like covered their tracks.
It looks like somebody had just buried something.
Oh, well, I mean, obviously that's the telltale sign for there's some shit in there.
Right, and then you got the tackle block, which is off typically pirate ships hanging above this buried something.
So my man's just looking for some booty.
He's trying to get the pirate booty, dude. He's trying to get the pirate booty.
Not to be confused with the delicious white cheddar treat you get at your local Trader Joe's.
I got a bag of that after Matt's wrestling show. Like a big bag of it, and just
hell yeah!
Because I stopped to get the kid ice cream. Oh, by the way, listen,
as a good father would.
If you're listening to this podcast and you don't know who 3G,
you need to really,
glamorous. You what?
Yeah, I said you really need to up your local wrestling knowledge. You buffoon.
Local if you're from Delaware. National if you're anywhere else.
Yeah.
3G. Glenn Gordon.
Glamorous Glenn Gordon. Glamorous.
Can you do it? Can you do it, Jake?
I'm not so good with the talking this morning.
All right. Well, if you don't know who he is, don't worry. You will soon. So let's talk about the island itself for a minute. As I said, it's located just off the shore of Nova Scotia in Canada, home of pro wrestling. And it is...
free healthcare.
Yes. Key.
Yes.
I don't know, but yeah, I guess so. That's all we know about Canada is that.
Oh, then poutine and delicious poutine.
Poutine. South Park. Nope, that's Colorado. The snow got me. The snow threw me off. Yep. All right.
We are awful with maps.
So, you speak for yourself. The island is... It's only about 650 feet off the shore of Nova Scotia. It's roughly 140 acres, and it's covered mostly by trees, oak trees. It's one of 360 islands in like the area that it's in. The entirety of these islands is known as Mahone Bay. So the boys were excited to dig into that pirate booty.
Danny McGee and the boys.
And the reason they were excited, because like we said, this was the golden age of piracy, and stories of Captain Kidd burying treasure on an island east of Boston had been circulating since the 1600s. So if you do look at a map, which we don't do often, Nova Scotia is like it's directly above Boston. So to the east of Boston, that's kind of where this would be. A New England man on his deathbed even admitted that he was a member of Captain Kidd's crew, and he said that they buried a treasure in the area that he claimed was worth around $2 million. That's $2 million of 1600s money.
So that's probably...
I mean, I don't know how that works. I don't know. I think the gold prices have gone up.
So it's probably...
I mean, it's got to be
$4 billion.
Well, here's the thing, right? And the reason we're doing this episode today is, number one, I love Oak
this
Island.
Really,
I think
just your stone cold hard penis.
It tickles my pickle. Shit. I think it's fascinating. The other reason is because tonight, as you're listening to this, the show The Curse of Oak Island is coming back for its 6th season. And yeah, we see that? We timed it out perfectly. So these guys, and we're going to talk about them later, they're still trying to find out what the fuck is on this island.
They're still in there.
They're 6 seasons in to a television show where they're spending their own money to bring in this equipment. So whatever they think is buried there, I mean, it's got to be...
It's got to be... It's...
Like, for them to break even at this point, it's...
Yeah.
You hope that it's huge. But anyway, the kids start digging.
She said.
Right? It didn't take long before these kids found evidence that this pit was man-made. At a depth of 2 feet, the boys came across a layer of carefully placed slate flagstones. The stones were basically like a layer filled the entire hole. This was
was this like a nice tiramisu?
Kind of, yeah. It's like a layer cake, and it keeps going. So the slate stone was, it was an indication that something wasn't quite right here, because slate was not found in this area. There was no slate in Nova Scotia, right?
Okay.
So they pull the stones up, hoping that the treasure would be under the stones. No, nothing. Under the stones was more dirt, right? So they continued to dig. They didn't find anything else for quite a while. They dug 10 more feet before they hit anything. Wow. At 10 feet, their shovels hit wood. And I'm not talking roots. I'm talking giant oak logs. So the boys are ecstatic, right? They're sure that this is it. That the treasure chest is going to be right underneath of it. And their dreams are going to come true. And again, disappointment sets in, because, like I said, it wasn't a treasure chest that they hit. It was a platform the size of the hole, again, made up of these oak logs that had been sunk into the sides of the shaft. Right? So basically, imagine taking a wooden floor, right? A round wooden floor.
Yeah.
Putting it down a hole, and then filling it with dirt.
Oh, okay.
It was like a whole size floor of these oak logs. So they pull up the oak logs, right? They chop them up, pull them up. They continue to dig.
These are just 3 kids.
It's just 3 kids, yeah.
And the fact that they're 10 feet deep into a hole.
Where
are these kids' parents?
There wasn't a lot to do in the 1800s. I mean, digging a hole was probably the most exciting thing they've ever done.
You're either out digging holes or you're getting some sort of, like, typhoid disease or something, or like smallpox.
Right. So under the wooden platform, when they pulled it up, was not treasure. It was instead a 2-foot drop and then some more dirt.
Just a 2-foot gap?
Yeah. So they pull up these logs. There's a 2-foot gap. And then the dirt starts again. So they decide to put a halt to their exploration, right? They're, like you said, they're just 3 kids. They realize that this is going to require a little bit more planning and effort than they had originally hoped.
Yeah, like, someone get a ladder. You know what I mean?
A ladder, especially. Like, how the fuck are they going to get out of this hole? You think they thought of that?
Oh, absolutely. It feels like whoever made this hole, it's like almost like a puzzle.
It's very much like a puzzle. So, the kids come back a few weeks later, and they're ready to dig. But this second excavation ends quite similar to the first. After hours of digging away, they get down another 10 feet and find, at almost exactly 10 feet from the first one, so now 20 feet into this hole, another platform of wooden logs. This was when they admitted defeat, right? They realized that whoever hid this treasure was a lot smarter than 3 fucking teenage boys.
3 goons.
And it wasn't going to do it. So they give up, except for John Smith. John Smith was the oldest of these 3 boys, and he was not giving up. That month, he purchased the lot of land that contained the money pit.
Smart guy.
Right. Yeah. So, in 1803, another guy's going to join this hunt, right? This guy named Simeon Linz. Linz was a relative to the Vaughn family. Okay. So, it's getting kind of confusing. There was Danny McGee, right? He found it. He brings in John Smith and Anthony Vaughn.
John Smith, that was a guy from Pocahontas.
Yep. And he buys the land. He buys the money pit. And then he gets a relative from Vaughn to come help him. So Linz enlists the help of this guy named Colonel Robert Archibald.
Oh, man, these names are just getting fancier as we go.
Right. So he gets
Sir
Colonel
Bartholomew barks a lot. That's my dog's name. No.
Is that your dog's name? You don't have a dog.
No, I don't have a dog. Bitch. I wish I had a dog.
Why don't you have a dog? Get a dog, Jake.
Yo, man, I live in the city, man.
I know.
Next thing you know, I bring home a dog. Next thing I know, they were shooting dice out front. Somebody gets shot. It's just I don't need that blood on my hands.
Okay. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I don't understand the logic, but we're going to go with it. So Linz enlists the help of Colonel Robert Archibald, Captain David Archibald, and Sheriff Thomas Harris to join his cause, right? So he's got some heavy hitters. He's got a fucking colonel, a captain, and a sheriff. Together, the group of boys established what will be known as the Onslow Company. Okay, the Onslow Company was referred to as a professional venture with the sole purpose of recovering the Oak Island treasure. So these guys made a company whose only possible income or
sole purpose
is just to find treasure in this hole.
In this hole, yeah.
So after removing the backfill from the initial excavation, Linz picks up right where the boys had left off. They start digging again, right? They get down to 30 feet. Guess what happens at 30 feet?
They find another platform.
Another platform. Like,
God damn!
Like, exactly. So exactly at 10 feet, exactly at 20 feet, exactly at 30 feet, there's these platforms of oak logs. It continues like this. A wooden platform every 10 feet, right? It wasn't until they hit a depth of 60 feet that they would find anything else, right? So it's 60 feet spread along the top of the wooden timbers. They find coconut fiber and coconut shells. This was strange.
Down there drinking coconut water to keep hydrated while doing all this filling in the holes.
Well, like we said, we don't know a lot about Canada, but Jake, I do know this. There are no fucking coconuts in Canada.
Whoa, really?
So whoever did this came from somewhere where they had coconuts. Probably somewhere in the Caribbean. And we know who live in the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Shit!
Allegedly. Again, I don't know. So the rough coconut fibers were commonly used in these times by pirates to protect valuables and treasures. It was kind of like their fucking styrofoam packing peanuts of the day.
Yeah.
So this excited them, obviously. Unfortunately, they go down 30 more feet, 2 more wooden platforms.
60 feet deep at this point.
They found the coconut fiber at 60 feet. They go down
another 30, so they're 90 feet deep.
Right. And
holy shit, man.
At 90 feet, on the 90-foot platform, by the way, this is still going, every 10 feet of platform, they find something. They find a large rectangular cut stone with an inscription on it, okay? And the inscription is not English. It's like a series of these bizarre shapes and symbols. Actually, if I can figure out how the fuck to send pictures in Skype again, because every time we try and do it, it's like an adventure. I have a picture of this platform. Well, it's a recreation of the platform. The original platform has been lost. Nobody really knows where it's at.
Okay.
All right, we're going to try this, Jake. All right, Jake, here we go. So this is the recreation of the stone. I want to send it to you just so you can get a feel for the type of writing that was on said stone. There we go. I sent it in the Skype chat.
Oh, look at that little image there. Ooh, okay, so that doesn't look normal.
No, right. What I mean, if you saw that, I mean, my first indication would be aliens, right? Like
alien,
this is
100%.
This is some ancient alien
I
shit.
feel say ancient aliens. What's the answer? Aliens, always. But if I'm going to be a smartass about it, this looks like it could be ancient Sumerian or possibly wingdings.
Unbelievable.
It looks like
or wingdings. Ancient Sumerian or wingdings. They borrowed a lot from each other's language.
Yeah.
The wingdings were actually very strong people, noble warriors.
Not so good at communication or, but definitely strong warriors.
Just like refrigerator and shit. So these pictures will be on the website if you go to thedepthspodcast.com. Any pictures we talk about will be there for you to check out. Let's see.
Along with a portfolio of me and my recent bathing suit for you to pick and choose from as well.
Yep, there we go. So the
try not to lose your lunch.
The men, they hoist this platform, this slab from the hole, and they set it aside for further examination, and we'll get back to that later. I do have a little bit more information on the slab. Okay, so the Onslow Company continues their excavation to a depth of 98 feet, where they come to another wooden platform. So this one was 2 feet off, I guess.
Okay. Getting a little shoddy.
Yeah. So at this point, rather than dig up the entire platform, one of the workers simply jams a crowbar between the logs and feels around to see if he can feel any like treasure or chests or anything, right?
Yeah.
Nothing. It was just like it was another gap and then some dirt. So they decide to call it a day and pack it up. It's believed that this decision may have set off one of the traps that the money that the money pit has become famous for. When the crew returned to the site the next day, they no longer had a pit. They had a well. The hole had filled up almost 60 feet with water.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so the men feverishly scoop bucket after bucket out of the money pit in an attempt to drain it, but they soon notice that no matter how much water they scoop out, the water level never goes down. This is because the pit didn't just fill up with rainwater. It was fucking engineered to flood if anyone dug too deep. It was booby-trapped, Jake.
Wow.
Yeah. The pit is booby-trapped.
I mean, I gotta know what's at the bottom of this thing.
Oh, yeah, me too. That's why I keep watching this fucking show where they never find anything. I'm 6 seasons in. They haven't found a goddamn... that's not true. They have found some things. They found some cool shit, actually. But not much of it has come from the money pit. So, yeah. The pit's booby-trapped. It fills up with water. And we're going to jump to 1849 now in this story, right? In
45 years into the future.
Right. In 1849, a group called the Truro Syndicate discovers 5 drains known
now. The Truro Syndicate? They love them.
Truro. It's Truro. It's Truro. Truro.
Truro.
Or Truro.
I'm going to go with churro because I love the cinnamon-y sweet taste of a churro.
I like that too. The Churro Syndicate discovers 5 drains that are now known as the box drains. The drains are in an area of the island known as Smith's Cove. Okay, these drains were discovered hidden under layers of sand and gravel where they were covered in a 2-inch layer of coconut fiber and a 6-inch layer of eelgrass. By the way, none of these things are native to this area. Again, the coconut fiber and the
eelgrass. Is it kind of like a kelp or like a seaweed?
I think it's. I'm not really sure what eelgrass is. I think it's like a really like fine fibrous. I think they use it. They used it. The idea was to filter out anything but water because they didn't want these box drains. Whoever built this didn't want these box drains to get clogged up.
Makes sense.
So with these filter layers, when they removed the filter layers, the stones inside the drain were completely sand-free and debris-free. So they had done their job. Nothing was getting into these box drains except for water. The Churro Syndicate, as well as many other hunters, believe that the box drains are the ends of the feeder tunnels connected to the money pit. These tunnels are believed to flood the money pit if any unauthorized persons try to go digging around for treasure. So, if you can imagine, this pit is in the center of the island, right?
Smack dab in the center.
Close. I don't know if it's dead center. So, whoever built this fucking pit, whoever put this here, dug drains from the center of the island to the edge of the island, because Smith's Cove is on the edge of the island. So water is feeding in from the ocean through these drains and flooding it if anybody sets off the booby traps. I don't know if I don't remember if I wrote this in here somewhere else. We might get to this. But at one point, a group of treasure hunters poured dye into the pit
Okay.
To see what would happen, and the die, and the die actually it came out different places around the island. So there may be more box strains feeding into this.
So that just begs to ask the question: is that hole the money pit, or is the entire island the money pit?
Ooh, you're going deep with this one.
We're called the depths, Paul.
Yeah, you have to go deep in the depths. You have to go deep in the depths. How many times do I say that a week, Jake? All the time. I'm telling you, you have to go deep in the depths.
I mean, I know you've told Lacey at least that. That's Mrs. Depths.
Okay, so I lost my place. The Churro Syndicate. Nope, I already said that. So the money pit at this time, by all accounts, was ruined. The trap worked, and the Onslow Company didn't find fucking squat. They didn't have the equipment or the technology to deal with this kind of flooding. They did have
fortitude. They didn't have the fortitude.
Right. They did have a plan, though. Their plan was to avoid the money pit altogether.
So how would you get to the bottom of it?
Okay, so the new idea was to outsmart these fuckers that built this pit. Their idea was instead of digging in the money pit, they were going to dig a hole parallel to the money pit, and once they got below the flooded area, they were going to tunnel over into the pit, trying to avoid the booby trap. They were hoping that they would do this and then pop out inside a dry treasure chamber and collect all the pirate booty for themselves.
Yeah, of course.
They broke ground on this new tunnel 14 feet southeast of the original pit. And it almost immediately failed. At a depth of only 12 feet, the new tunnel began to flood. Out of money and out of hope, the Onslow Company threw in the towel.
I mean, as any, normal, knowledgeable, sensible company should.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So nobody fucks with it for a while. And then one of the original hunters, Anthony Vaughn, wait a second. Wait a second. Yes, okay. I confused myself. That was the Onslow Company, right? The Onslow Company does all this stuff. That's who we're talking about. They throw in the towel when their second tunnel fucks up. And then the pit lays dormant for a while until the Churro Company, who we just mentioned, was formed, right?
Yes. The Churro, 45 years later, the Churro Company, the Churro Syndicate comes in. And they were noticing all the box drains and shit like that.
Yes, and the Churro Company is formed by Anthony Vaughn, who's one of the original boys. Remember the three boys that we loved so much?
Oh, yeah. Danny McGee, John Smith from Pocahontas, and Anthony Vaughn. He brought the sheriff, the colonel, and the captain or whatever.
Yes, and the talking raccoon. Was that?
And the talking raccoon,
okay.
Yes.
So Anthony Vaughn forms the Churro Company together with a group of men, including the brother of Simeon Leeds, who was the guy who started the Onslow Company with John Smith.
Yeah.
And
they're all intertwined by blood or by a thirst of booty.
Right, yes. They all have a thirst for booty. So Anthony Vaughn and Simeon Lynd's brother, Dr. David Barnes Lind. This is a lot
These
of
names are getting intense.
It doesn't really matter that much. So
Dr. Long Dick Barnes Lind shows up.
There's
only one way to get to the bottom of this hole, and that's to fuck our way out of it.
In spite of the ambition surrounding the newly formed Churro Company, the men did not start further exploration until 1849, 4 years later, when with improved funding and organization, the Churro Company begins the fourth attempt to solving the Oak Island mystery. In 1849, like I said, the team picks up where the Onslow Company left off, removing the water from the pit. After 2 weeks of laboring against debris and water in the pit, the crew achieved a depth of 86 feet. Right? So they're able to get the water out. They're able to dig a little bit further.
Just about to where the Onslow Company stopped.
Right. Yeah, the Onslow Company was at 98 feet when it flooded. So they get down to 86 feet. This, however, doesn't last. The next day, the workers were perplexed to find that the surface of the water had returned again to 60 feet. So it just keeps coming, man. There's I don't know what, I couldn't figure out what they did to try to do this. Like, I don't know what they were doing differently to think it was going to work, but it didn't. They were, however, more prepared than the predecessors. So the Churro Company was determined to reveal the tunnel's contents, even if human hands did not make the initial discovery. So seeing that the water had returned, the men fashioned a wooden platform that mounted over the mouth of the pit. And through an opening in the floor of the structure, the men plunged a hand-operated auger into the water. So at this point, they have fucking augers, right? The technology's coming along.
Okay.
They hoped that this contraption would give them at least an idea of what was buried beyond the 98 feet that they knew about. Yeah. The results of the remote probing could not have been anticipated by even the most optimistic men. So,
yeah, let's get some probing going on.
The probing begins, and at 98 feet, the auger comes in contact with a layer of spruce approximately 6 inches deep.
Just like wooden like spruce, like wood planks? Or is it like a platform, or what are we talking about here?
I think maybe this is the platform, or maybe this is right below the platform. So they hit the spruce, then there's a little gap, a small pocket, like there normally is. Beneath that is a layer of settled dirt. And the Churro Company notices that the auger, when it penetrates, what the fuck did I write here, Jake? This doesn't even make sense. I'm losing.
Can you read your own handwriting?
Okay, so anyway, they're going down. It doesn't matter. They're going through all the shit. And when the operators bring the probe out of the pit, there's links of gold chain on it.
Whoa.
Right, yeah. So they find gold for the first time in the money pit. They continue to drill down a few more times, usually coming up with nothing, right? Okay. According to a member of the team, the Churro Company foreman, James Pitbaldo, did something very peculiar during the fourth drilling. As the auger brought the materials to the surface, other crew members witnessed Pitbaldo wipe dirt off of an object before discreetly slipping the item into his pocket. Several accounts of this event indicate that
man was stealing.
They indicate that immediately after this, Pitbaldo left the island and relinquished all ties to the Churro Company. So this motherfucker, three attempts after they find the gold chain, goes down, finds something on the end of the auger, swipes that shit, puts it in his pocket, and is never seen from again.
Damn, that's some real thieving shit. But I mean, like, all that work you're doing, you're just gonna steal a couple gold strands, like a couple gold chains? Get down in there, get you some serious fucking coin, man.
Well, here we go. So shortly after this happens, shortly after he takes whatever he takes, leaves the island, and relinquishes his ties to the company, he puts in a request to authorities for a license to conduct his own excavation on the money pit.
Oh, shocker.
Yeah, so he ends up being denied, right? And it seems that he's never heard from again. But he knew something. He found something. If anybody knows what was in that pit,
it's Pitbaldo.
It's fucking Pitbaldo. He even sounds like the guy that would do some shit like that.
Yeah.
So
he sounds like an 80s villain.
Yeah, right. He sounds like one of the fucking mafia guys with the tracksuits and the fucking chest hair popping out of the top with one gold chain that he found in the money pit.
We ball in the night, boy.
Right. After continuously coming up empty-handed, the Churro Company took a break from digging to see if they could find a cause for the flooding in the money pit. This is where they find the box drains. Despite their best efforts, they're never able to get rid of the water in the money pit, and they leave empty-handed after disbanding the company. Then almost, 1861 is the next hunt, right? The next hunt starts in 1861.
12 years later, yeah.
And it's a group called the Oak Island Association. This group was allowed to work in the money pit under the condition that they'd give 1/3 of anything they found to the landowner at the time. The landowner was a man named Anthony Graves. So the Oak Island Association also begins their dig with some newfound clues to where the treasure might actually be. You remember that stone tablet I sent you the picture of? How could you forget?
Yeah,
right?
with the wingdings all over it.
Yeah, well, they believe that they deciphered it.
What did it say? Don't come up in here.
So a man by the name of James Lecce was able to crack the code. Lecce was a professor of languages at Dalhousie University, and he was
heard of it.
Me either. He was able to use one of the oldest decoding techniques in the book.
He used what was this from? DeVry University.
DeVry, the University of Arizona. He's able to use one of the oldest decoding techniques in the book, the simple substitution method. Jake, obviously you know what the simple substitution method is, and I don't have to explain that to you. But why
don't we do it for the folks at home, though? I think they might.
Yeah, I
think they might appreciate that because we are obviously too intelligent for these peons.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so go ahead, do it for the people at home.
No, I mean, you have it written down. I think it might be easier if you did it.
Okay, so the simple substitution method, in decoding terms, is a method where each symbol is assigned a single letter of the alphabet. I mean, I think we did these in school. Basically, one symbol is A, one symbol is B, one symbol is C. So by applying this approach to the tablet, Lecce resolved that the tablet said, quote, 40 feet below, 2 million pounds are buried.
Wow.
That's his guess at what this tablet said. So the Oak Island Association's method was very similar to the Churros' idea of digging a parallel tunnel.
2 million pounds, as in $2 million.
2 million, maybe 2 million pounds of gold.
Pounds of gold. 2 million pounds of churros.
That would be worth dying for.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
It would just be phenomenal. Now, that guy did say on his deathbed that there was roughly $2 million in gold buried.
The guy who said he was part of Captain Kidd's crew.
Exactly. So, I mean, it could make sense. We're tying some things together here.
Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting. The Oak Island Association's method, like I said, was similar to the other people who were going to dig the parallel tunnel, only their attempt was more successful. So rather than digging just 12 feet next to the tunnel, they made two tunnels, one 118 feet away and one 120 feet away, and both didn't flood. They were also able to clear the floodwaters from the original money pit to a depth of 88 feet. So they decided their best bet was this 118-foot tunnel. This tunnel was located... Oh, you know what? No.
Somewhere. It was located somewhere.
I goofed up. So they didn't go 12 feet away. They went 18 feet away. My numbers were mixed. It wasn't 118 feet away. The tunnel...
to a guy from Newcastle to just
the tunnel got to
all the numbers.
I know. I wrote this so long ago, Jake. The tunnel got to a depth of 118 feet. So they believed at this depth they'd be able to tunnel east and access the treasure room. I don't know how the fuck these people... Like, I don't know where they get the idea that there's a fucking treasure room and that they know how deep it's at. But they think that's what they're going to do. Unfortunately, just 1 foot away from penetrating the money pit, their tunnel floods with seawater. Sensing...
Cursed! You're cursed!
The curse of Oak Island. Sensing that they were just 12 sweet inches away from the money pit spoils, they tried to use a pumping gin to clear the water out from the tunnel. They pumped for 3 days with no results. Every inch of water they pumped out instantly refilled. This is when they turned their attentions to the 120-foot shaft. The 120-foot shaft was located 25 feet away from the money pit.
That's a big shaft.
Yeah. So, again, they get inches away from the money pit, and it floods. Yeah. An unknown member of the Oak Island Association would also become the first to die in the hunt for the money pit's treasure. In 1861, the company would install a cast iron pumping and steam engine to try and dispatch the water in the money pit. And as
somebody get John Henry on the job.
Really?
He's a
one-man.
That shit. He's a one-man wrecking crew. He'll clean that shit out in no time.
Yep. Fuck all these machines.
I do this shit with my bare hands. Come on, baby.
So as the men tried to drain the tunnel with this machinery, one of the boilers exploded. And the explosion would leave several men injured, but one operator would be fatally scalded to death.
God, what an awful way to die.
Yeah, it really is.
Hey, you want to be burned alive with hot water? No, it's a hard pass for me.
You could probably eat him afterwards, though. I imagine he'd be well cooked.
Boiled for safety.
They continue
like jerky. If they leave him out and let him dehydrate a little bit, he's essentially jerky at that point.
Yeah. Person jerky.
Ooh.
Let's call Armin Mavis into it. He'd be into it.
Yay, there's a callback.
So they continue for a few more years until finally they gave up in 1866 when they relinquished their rights to search for the treasure on the site. Now,
I got a question. I have one question.
Sure.
All the chuckleheads that have, meandered around this island, have they ever gotten to a point where the hole was not flooded?
I
don't mean to, if I'm jumping ahead in what you have written up there.
No. Well, so I think the furthest anybody got without having to deal with water was 98 feet when that dude stuck the crowbar through the bars and hit the booby trap. I'm pretty sure since then... You're talking first crew. Yeah.
Since then. Now, but here's my question, though. So, this is a booby trap because they don't want, quote-unquote, unauthorized people to be in this.
Yeah, you have to have an ID card.
Yeah, it's there a sequence of, stones you have to turn or, something you have to say in order to, disarm said booby trap. But,
If I knew the answer to that question, Jake, do you fucking think I would be doing this stupid podcast with you?
Whoa, I don't think this is stupid.
I would be.
I think we're over here getting in touch with an audience that has a thirst for spooky things of this nature.
No, I don't know. Probably. I'm sure there's probably, whoever made this or put this shit here, I'm sure there's probably some way to do it without flooding it.
Weird incantation, you have to say.
Well, there is some other weird shit on the island, and we will talk about that. But, no, if you're asking, has anybody found, a fucking, twist this rock and then pull this branch and that...
What about that kid from that movie, Holes? Why don't we get that kid in on air?
Are you talking about Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah, get that dumb fuck in here. He'll help us out.
Maybe. He's good at digging holes. Him and his crew.
Motley crew of kids.
So the pit lays dormant until 1893. And this is when... a half-ounce copper coin was found on the island, although it was found outside of the pit. It was enough to pique interest again, right? People start going, hey, what the fuck's going on? Now we found a coin. So Frederick Blair and S.C. Fraswer, you know it's a good
Mrs.
old-timey
kid from the Magic School Bus.
It's a good old-timey, what do they call them? Connoisseur.
Ooh.
Oil magnate. They always had the
oil magnate.
They always had the abbreviated name.
I do declare, I need to be knowing what's in that there hole there.
They decide they're going to incorporate, and they are going to call themselves the Oak Island Treasure Company. Pretty on the nose.
Yeah, no beating around the bush on that name.
So under a $30,000 lease agreement, they were able to secure the rights to any and all treasure found on the property over the next 3 years. These 3 years, Jake, would end up being pretty rough for the Oak Island Treasure Company. The first thing that the treasure company wanted to do was purchase a water pump to clear the water out of the money pit.
You think that would work, right?
They were unable to secure enough capital to cover this purchase, so they decided to press on anyway. Next, they decided to take aggressive actions and begin a deliberate excavation in 1895. Unfortunately, they later found out that they had not been digging in the right pit. They were actually in one of the auxiliary access tunnels that was about 10 feet northwest of the pit left by the previous treasure hunters.
You're the wrong hole, dummy!
And to make things worse, at a depth of only 55 feet into this wrong tunnel, it flooded with seawater.
You fucking idiot!
To make things even worse, in September of that year, the company was informed that even though they had already spent $30,000 on a lease to any treasure that they were able to find in the pit, it actually belonged to the Queen and not the Oak Island Treasure Company. So, although...
You're talking about the Queen of England?
Yeah, the Queen of England. Yeah.
How's that even possible? How does she claim right over an island in Nova Scotia?
I don't know how that bitch slipped her way into this deal.
She's in on it.
She's in on it, dude.
She's an alien.
So they spent
I'm not gonna say it.
Ooh, a lizard person.
A lizard person, Paul.
So they spent $30,000 in order to secure the rights to all the treasure they find over the next 3 years, and in actuality, it's the Queen's. So the Queen, not wanting the men to stop digging in case there was some shit on the island, agreed to only take a portion of their earnings if they found anything. So that was nice of her. This fucking bitch who didn't put a fucking cent into
this fucking dumb bitch. You fucking selfish snake bitch. How dare you run a country and fucking just claim something that's not even yours.
Yeah, right? I think it was hers. I mean, the country was hers. They own...
I guess.
I think England owns Canada, right? Still? Or France? Somebody owns Canada.
French Canadian.
Somebody owns Canada. The following...
that Canadians own Canada.
No, it's not. It's not. That's why they're out here selling fucking leases. Like, come take our treasure. They take your fucking money and then they don't even own it.
Don't read the fine print though, where it says I actually own everything.
The Queen of France's. The following year, the company made one last ditch effort. After finally securing a pump, they returned to the pit, and once again things ended poorly. At a depth of only 70 feet, the pump could no longer keep up with the amount of water that was flowing into the tunnel. And even worse, on March 26th, a man named Maynard Kaiser was working in one of the many shafts.
He was.
As he was being pulled to the surface, the ascension rope carrying him slipped from its pulley, and he fell back down into the blackness of the shaft, never to be seen again.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
They couldn't even hear him. It just swallowed him up.
No, that was it. Yeah, he was gone.
R.I.P., fam.
Yeah, sorry, Maynard.
Maynard Kaiser. I wonder if he was related to any of the World War I Kaisers. You know what I mean?
You mean like
Baron von Kaiser?
Maybe
the guy from Punch-Out?
Or the rolls? Maybe he has something to do with that roll money?
Maybe.
Kaiser roll. In June of 1897...
God, it was such a bad dad joke.
The Oak Island Treasure Company... The Oak Island Treasure Company, after some moderate success in draining the money pit of the water, began to drill further down. They actually reach a depth of 126 feet when they encounter a 5-inch layer of oak before hitting an impenetrable iron surface.
Iron?
Yeah. So the company moves their drill 1 foot from the initial hole and tries again. And this time the auger passes through layers of soft stone, oak, and a deposit that seemed to be consistent with loose pieces of metal. You know what loose pieces of metal means, right?
Hit me with the facts. What do you got?
Gold, dude. Little gold.
Oh, shit.
Bullion.
Gold, oh, shit, not gold bullion. Are you trying to get some of this gold bullion?
At a depth of 153 feet, the drill once again comes in contact with that iron barrier and could descend no further. So, I guess this is what... I mean, maybe this is the treasure room people are thinking of. Maybe it's some, like, it's got, like, iron walls and then all the little treasures are in the middle.
I want to know how far down is it, like, until you get, like, obviously, like, this is, like, a geography question. Like, how far down into the Earth's crust can you go until you get to, like...
Lava? Is that what you're getting?
China. Like, how far do you get?
I don't know exactly.
Like, we're talking like the 300-foot area, like we are on the other side of the world.
Does
right?
that work does it work everywhere? Like, if you dig far enough from anywhere, do you end up in China, or does it depend where you're at?
I always thought. I mean, you know, old cartoons told me that if I dig far enough anywhere I'm at, I'm gonna end up in China.
Yeah, I think. Well, you know, if either of us had ever looked at a fucking globe, we could probably answer this question. But we haven't.
But no, like how far down until you get to, like, I'm not saying lava, obviously, because that's like thousands of feet, I would assume. But like, I don't know, like sedimentary rock,
like bedrock.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I think it's more than 153 feet. Actually, that's one of the problems if you watch Curse of Oak Island. Like, these guys have the equipment now that they do a lot of times. Just they drill until they hit bedrock. So it's not like a crazy distance. I think it's not
long.
Maybe like 200 feet.
How long would you dig until you're just like, you know what? Let's get some fucking dynamite in here.
With a shovel? How long would I dig? Like, I don't know. I had to bury my cat a couple weeks ago, and that was brutal. And I think we went.
Damn, why you gotta bring up some? That's some sad shit right there.
Well, she was a cat.
I get it, but no, but I'm saying, like, how, like, if I'm like one of these companies, like the Oak Island Treasure Company and what have you. How long do you dig until you're like, you know what? Let's get some fucking explosives in here.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
But then again, I guess, you know,
you don't want to blow up the treasure.
Flooded. Yeah, but like, fuck it, blow a hole out, and then be like, oh, hey, guess what? Now it's like something may fly out. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you why. I don't know previously, like these people that just thought they were looking for fucking pirate treasure. I don't know why they didn't do that. But I will tell you why people today don't take that method, and it is because of what they did right here, what we're talking about. So when the team, like I said, they drill down to a depth of 153 feet, and when they pull the drill back to the surface, they begin to examine it, and what they find is fucking pretty buck wild. So they're searching the debris on the end of the auger, and they find, you know, the usual, like, wood fragments, dirt, debris. Then they find a piece of parchment, right, with the letters VI written on one side.
Okay. Private?
Well, no. I don't know. Why is there a piece of parchment with writing this far under the earth?
Yeah.
I do actually, if you would like, I have a picture of said parchment. Hopefully Skype doesn't send us to hell again.
What is a free app, so you never know. Well, yeah. I got an image.
There it is. So that's what they pulled out. Clearly handwritten.
Ooh. Very nice
handwriting.
Very nice calligraphy as well.
So let's talk about some of the theories as to what people think is down there. Right, so there's the Captain Billy Kidd theory.
Captain Will Billy the Kid.
Will Billy Kidd. We talked about this one. This is the one where the man in New England admitted that he was part of the crew, right?
Yeah.
And there's the Sir Francis Bacon theory. This is a raging debate regarding the possibility that Shakespeare's plays were not actually written by Shakespeare. A lot of people claim that William Shakespeare was not educated enough to write his own plays, and that they were actually written by a man named Sir Francis Bacon. No original manuscripts have ever been found of any of Shakespeare's works, so the theory goes that Bacon actually buried them somewhere to be found in the future. Bacon also, I believe, has ties to the Knights Templar, who is the next theory.
And also is named after a delicious treat when you cut some fat off a fat piggy's back and fry it up into a pan.
I think bacon is named after him, actually.
As it should be.
Yeah. It's not, though. I made that up. But the Knights Templar have been linked to Oak Island primarily because historical records suggest that they both had the motive and the means to deposit large amounts of treasure in the money pit. Do you know a lot about the Knights Templar? I mean, everybody knows a little about the Knights Templar, but
I know absolutely nothing about the Knights Templar other than they have a cool name.
Yeah, so the Knights Templar were basically a religious military group who aided the church in all of its efforts. The Templar became the first bank in the world, right? So kings from all these different countries would deposit their money to the Knights Templar, and the Templar would protect their money because they were that badass that they were like, here, guard everything that I have.
Wow, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. Eventually, the King of France began to plot against the Knights Templar in order to possibly acquire all of his treasures, or all of their treasures. He was able to persuade the Pope to join his cause, and on the 13th of October, 1307, the Pope ordered the Knights Templar be arrested, tortured, and killed. The fucking Pope. On the day that the arrests began in Paris, the Paris Templar loaded all of their treasure onto wagons and trains and headed toward the port city of La Rochelle. All of their treasure was boarded onto Templar ships, and they set sail, and nobody knows what the fuck happened after that. No one knows where the Knights Templar treasure is. No one knows where they went. It's commonly believed that these Templars headed to Scotland, where they found the St. Clair family, eventually known as Sinclair. The Sinclairs built the Roslin Chapel, and it is believed that this was the temporary resting place of Jake, the Holy Grail.
Holy shit!
Before it made its final journey to a more permanent hiding spot. Nova Scotia.
Not to be confused with the Holy Hand Grenade and everything that Monty Python was after.
This is the actual Holy Grail, the cup that is said that Jesus drank out of at the Last Supper. Pretty important artifact to Catholics, as you may imagine.
Yeah, but does it have any powers? Can you do anything?
I don't know, because nobody can get to the bottom of this gosh darn pit.
GD pit.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be kind of cool if it was you take a sip out of it, and I don't know, you get some sort of super you can walk on water.
Turn water into wine. That's the power you want. If you're gonna get power, that's the one you want.
Man,
right?
I'm not turning water into wine. I'm turning water into Four Loko.
Video game. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm turning water into video games. Turning water into a blowjob.
There's also there's also rumors that, or talks that the Knights Templar were also in possession of the Ark of the Covenant, which also is a pretty big deal for anybody who is of the religious persuasion.
So I am not. I believe in the opposite of God.
Reincarnation?
No, I believe in our Dark Lord and Savior. So could you please explain
praise his name.
Praise his name. Could we talk about what the Ark of the Covenant is for a minute, if you know?
Yeah, so the Ark of the Covenant, and I don't have this written down, I just know this.
Hit me with some facts off the top of the dome, Paul.
The Ark of the Covenant is believed to be the vessel that contained the Ten Commandments. So essentially the book, or the book, or not, because the Ten Commandments were on tablets, correct? Right, yeah.
And the Ark of the Covenant was essentially some sort of box that held the tablets.
Yes. I'm double checking because I don't want to sound like an asshole. I'm pretty sure that's what the Ark of the Covenant is. Let's see. Correct. Yes. It was the chest containing the 2 stone tablets of the 10 Commandments. Right. Okay.
Oh, that's pretty
I got
fucking...
It right.
It's fancy looking.
Yeah, well, nobody knows what it really looks like, but, there's, I guess, maybe the Bible says something about it. I don't know. I've never read the Bible. This is the Freemasons. So eventually, it's believed that the Knights Templar formed a new group called the Freemasons. I don't know if you knew that. Freemasons are descendants of the Knights Templar. And
I've seen National Treasure.
There you go.
I know a little. There we go.
Some believe that they've continued to hide the treasure of the Templar through time. And there has been a lot of evidence found on Oak Island of Freemasons, and I have to put a little caveat because of last season of Curse of Oak Island, and evidence of the Knights Templar. So, this theory is very, very possible. So, over the next few decades, many people would try their hand at cracking the money pit. These people include a man by the name of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. You may have heard
FDR.
of him before. Roosevelt was fucking obsessed with Oak Island. And in 1909, at the age of 27, he would join the ranks of Old Gold Salvage and Wrecking Company. And they spent time on the island looking for the treasure. He would remain interested in the island through his presidency, and in a letter to a friend during his run as president, he wrote that he planned on one day returning to the island again in Mahone Bay, but inevitably was prevented from doing so by the outbreak of World War II. That kept him pretty busy, and then he had, his famous health issues.
The Nazis.
Yes, the Nazis stopped FDR from going back to Oak Island. In 1965, the Restall family moved to Oak Island and tried their hand at the money pit. Robert Restall had fallen in love with the idea of exploring Oak Island's money pit. He collected articles and information on the island, and then in 1959, in exchange for 50% of anything the Restalls found, was given full rights to operate in the money pit. Unfortunately, of all the disasters we've talked about, the Restalls would experience the biggest one.
Really?
Things would end terribly for the Restalls. On August 17th, 1965, Robert Restall and his son were working in a new shaft. And at some point around 2 p.m. that day, Robert peered over the edge of the tunnel to inspect his work and became overwhelmed with noxious gas emanating from the pit. Restall lost all consciousness and fell into the pit. When his son saw this, without hesitation, he dashed over and climbed into the pit to save his father. And he was also killed by the fumes and died in the pit. Unaware of what was happening and only seeing this incident from afar, two nearby workers, Carl Grazer and Cyril Hiltz, rushed over to help the men, and they both died from the gas and fell into the pit. So, the island is
booby trap.
The island killed 6 people so far. Yeah, possibly another booby trap. Or
now have all 6 bodies been found? Like not of the company you just mentioned, but there's also my man Kaiser Roll that fell down in there and never to be seen or heard of ever again. Correct?
Kaiser, no. Kaiser was the one that. Damn. Did Kaiser fall in, or did he get scalded to death?
Yeah, you said my man Kaiser fell in. Oh, no, that's somebody else that got scalded to death. Kaiser's the one that fell in.
Okay, so Kaiser fell in. Kaiser's still down there. Nobody found Kaiser.
Damn.
I think these 4 people, I'm pretty sure these 4 were all taken out of the pit. They were able to find them. Because, remember, this was like a new shaft that they just started working on, so I don't think it was as deep as the others.
Oh, okay.
So, this is why... this is where it gets the name Curse of Oak Island. Number one, every time anybody tries to dig in this fucking money pit, they are spoiled. Their efforts are
thwarted
in vain. And then a bunch of people died. So nobody knows exactly where the origins of this curse come from. But seemingly, as long as there has been treasure hunters on the island, there has been like an idea that maybe, just maybe, it's protected by more than just these wood platforms and water. I don't know where this came from, but the legend states that 7 must die before the island will give up its treasures. Like we said, the deaths so far. Okay, yeah, I wrote it down here. There was the unknown worker. He's the one that got boiled. Nobody knows his name.
Yeah.
Maynard Kaiser, he fell into the shaft. And then you have Robert Restall Sr., Robert Restall Jr., and then the two workers. So 6 have died so far. As of today, the most in-depth search of the island is still in progress. I mean, this is the Curse of Oak Island. These are the guys that do the show. It's 2 brothers named Marty and Rick Lagina. They became fascinated with Oak Island as children after finding a news article on the Restall's family's work before they died. So the 2 brothers ever since have... Well, no. The 2 brothers since have obtained a controlling interest in Oak Island Tours, which owns most of the island, and they were approached by Discovery Channel to do a reality show. So, tonight, Season 6 of Curse of Oak Island starts on History Channel. I said Discovery Channel. It's History Channel.
God damn it,
Jake,
Paul.
dude, it's so fucking early. I just got off work.
Man, no excuses.
They've come to expect this from me. You know that?
I know. It's
tripping
okay.
over my words. So a man named Fred Nolan was one of the longest-standing Oak Island treasure hunters. Fred passed away in 2016, but he had found a bunch of crazy shit while living his life on the island. One of his biggest discoveries goes back to what you were saying about the possible, maybe keys to unlocking this, and it's known as Nolan's Cross. So during a very detailed survey of his land, Fred Nolan discovered an extensive stone cross spanning hundreds of feet over the island. So at one point, a large boulder was overturned by a bulldozer, and what was underneath the boulder was the Freemason logo.
Really?
Yeah, so...
on the stone itself?
Yes, yeah.
That's pretty...
Well,
that's a clue.
It's a clue.
Yo,
it's a clue.
Someone needs to get Nick Cage in on this. He will have this thing cracked in an hour and 35 minutes, because that's how long the movies are.
Yes.
And everything will be figured out, and we'll all be balls deep in gold bullion.
Right, and you know it's not going to be more than 2 hours, because the studio's not going to allow that.
No,
that ain't going to sell.
Alone.
You know what I mean? So, this boulder with the Freemason logo is one thing. Nolan's Cross is another. So Nolan's Cross actually is, it's a cross made of these stones that, if I believe the center of the cross is the money pit.
Oh, shit.
Let's see. Another unusual discovery was found just off the shore of Oak Island, and may not be directly linked to the money pit, but is still a little mysterious, and it suggests that, Jake, maybe the New World may not be such a new discovery. There was a shipwreck. A shipwreck that is believed to be a Roman ship, and what was found was a Roman sword in the water next to the ship. So,
really?
Yeah, which would indicate that the Romans were in North America way before Christopher Columbus was. I should say that the Laginas had this sword tested for authenticity on the show, and the experts they talked to said that they thought the sword was a recreation and not authentic. But what the fuck do they know? During the filming of the show, the Laginas drained a swamp in order to search for what was beneath the nasty muck. And during the search, they found pieces of an ancient Spanish ship, as well as Spanish coins that date back to 1652, also before Christopher Columbus. In Season 3 of Curse of Oak Island, Rick decides to dig a small borehole in an area he believed was the location of the original money pit. By the way, I should mention, with all the construction and all the attempts to find the fucking treasure, the original money pit has been lost. Nobody knows where the fuck it is.
Really?
Yeah, it's gone. I mean, there's so many holes and pits and things that have been buried and dug up that no one is really sure where the original pit was. But Rick believes that he found a spot where it could be. He started to drill down, and as the drill dug down, it eventually dropped, indicating that he had bored into a cavern of some sort. The men dropped a camera into the hole, and what they found was gold. There's something gold in this borehole. Then in the next season...
the whole island.
Dude, I think so. It's pretty crazy. Then the next season, they dug a larger borehole wide enough to send a diver down. And although they were not able to relocate the shiny gold object during the dive, they did retrieve what looks like some sort of corner plate while digging out the hole. So it's like a... I don't know, like a weird metal. It's not natural. It didn't belong in the ground. It was put there by somebody. So I don't know. The show's still going on. I mean, I guess this episode's not really like super conclusive because I can't tell you what the fuck's under the hole. But it's really interesting, and you should check it out. And also, they might find something because some people think that the curse has been fulfilled, that the seventh person may have already died, because many believe that he died and it's being covered up.
Really?
Yeah, so this is the last thing I wanted to say. A few years ago, a man by the name of Matt Christholm was tipped off. Matt happened to be a producer for season 1 and 2 of The Curse of Oak Island. So Matt was tipped off by a local Nova Scotia top Masonic Grand Master's great-granddaughter. Did you follow that?
My head hurts from hearing that.
It was the granddaughter of a former Masonic Grand Master. And his granddaughter said that there's a secret room that had been walled up for years in her house and had been found accidentally. And she said that the room was some sort of like hidden Masonic temple or shrine, and it contained an altar, and draped over that altar was a map. And it was a map of Oak Island.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so they found a hidden room in their grandfather, who was a Masonic Grand Master's house, with a fucking altar in it. And on the altar was a map of Oak Island. According to the woman, the map had numerous unusual symbols and markings on it, and she arranged for a meetup to give the map to Matt. Yeah. Merely hours before the scheduled meetup, Matt was found dead.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, not much could be found about his death. I couldn't find anything about the cause of death or any other information surrounding it. It was never acknowledged by the TV show or the History Channel, and there was never like in memory of or in tribute to. So I don't know. Could this Matt Christholm be the seventh life needed to reveal the island secrets? It's fucking crazy. I'd like to know how he died.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got. I would say if I could make a recommendation, it would be to watch The Curse of Oak Island because it's amazing. This is the sixth season. You don't really need to go back and watch the other ones because they haven't really found anything. But I don't know. It's worth a watch, Jake.
I'm into it. Into it.
Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't say they didn't find things in the other seasons because they did. Like, they found coins that they believe date back to, like, the Templar and the Spanish in, like, the 1600s. So they have found stuff. They just haven't gotten to the money pit. They haven't found the... there's been no big reveal yet, you know?
Okay. I want to know what's in this motherfucking hole.
I do too, man. So badly do I want to know what's in this hole. So badly. I have some other pictures that will be up on the website if you go to thedepthspodcast.com. I have pictures of the corner plate they found that I was telling you about. I have pictures of the Masonic symbol that was on the bottom of that big boulder.
Now, can you do tours of this place?
Yes, yeah. So that's actually the way the Laginas got access to the island is they own a construction company in Michigan. So that's where they make their money. They make like big, crazy money doing that. And they bought the Oak Island Tour Company. So they actually run the tours of Oak Island as well.
Oh, so they're like, hey, come watch me dig a hole and check some shit out while you're here.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think they only dig in the summertime because it's in Canada and the ground's fucking frozen the rest of the year.
Yeah. Doesn't make for good.
I think the rest of the year you can just go kind of take tours of the island.
That's pretty cool.
It's very cool. I would suggest anybody who's interested look more into Oak Island because it's fascinating.
Okay, cool. I'm into it, man.
Yeah. So this was a cool episode. Like I said, I wanted to do it because of the show. Next week, or in 2 weeks, we'll be getting back to the death and violence and murder. And,
all the real cool dark stuff.
The hits, man. The hits.
Back to the hits.
Holy shit, dude! This episode has been
so long.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna edit some out, so we'll get it down to about an hour. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
You people are gonna love it. I shouldn't even have said that because you're not gonna know the difference.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I have. You can check us out on social medias.
On the internets.
And you can email us at thedepthspodcast@gmail.com. I expect to see an email from each and every one of you.
Every single listener want at least a smiley face emoji via email.
And also, if you have ideas for topics, you can send them our way because
send those our way as well. We're always open to hearing cool and new ideas.
Yeah, as long as they don't suck. Don't send us stupid
as long as they don't
stuff
suck. Because if they suck, I'll let you know.
Fucking lame. You know what I mean? Don't be fucking lame and listen to our podcast and send us some lame ideas.
Yeah,
you know what this is about.
We're on Spotify. We're on the Apple Podcast app. We're on YouTube's. We're on Instagram. We're on
MySpace,
LiveJournal, Zanga,
Dead Journal.
Hinge.
We didn't do Dead Journal. We just did live, huh?
Yeah. My Instagram
Photo
is Jake
Bucket.
Lotz. Photo Bucket. Yes. Yes.
He's Jake Lotz. I'm at Breeding Nuclear. Yeah, cool. All right, that's it. Don't be fucking lame, though. You know what I mean?
Don't be fucking lame. Let's find some treasure, bitch.